Hello. So I am excited to share with you Principle 2. What's happening here? It went blank for a second. Okay. So we're back on the 7 principles of making marriage work. I'm going to read through this whole book with you, so you don't even have to really sit down and read it. But it is a great book if you do want to invest the time. Today we're going to talk about the second principle. Was kind of jumping around yesterday, but we already discussed the first principle, which was setting up a better love map for your partner and for you, which is in the first chapters. This time, this chapter is going to be about principle 2, nurturing your fondness and admiration. This is such an interesting chapter, especially if you've been married for a while. Okay. In every good relationship, you're going to see there's like this mutual fondness and admiration about your partner, where you talk about your partner in like a nice way. So if you do talk about your partner in like a frustrated way, let's say when you're venting, it definitely, it's important to share if you need to let it out and deal with it and cope. However, if you find yourself harboring on the negative aspects of your partner, this is going to be a good chapter for you to review. So let's review. So he starts off by talking about this character, Dr. Rory, who has a wife, Lisa. So this doctor is a pediatric specialist intensivist in a hospital where 20 nights out of the month he sleeps in the hospital. When asked about what their family's pet dog name is, he couldn't answer the question. He was so out of touch with his own family, and the wife was trying and trying, but then like she just started giving up. And he brings this couple into this chapter because he was showing like how close to divorce they really were. Like she started going out without him, and then at one point he said, what, I really want a divorce from you. And they were heading on their divorce path until they end up, they said here, they actually went to a last-ditch effort to therapy, marriage therapy, and it wasn't working out. They went to one session and he was like totally done with her. He was tired of it. And their marriage's, he writes here, but their marriage's hidden hope was discovered when the couple agreed to be taped in my lab for a segment of a TV news show. So they came to his lab and they were recording a segment for TV. And the interviewer asked the husband, that doctor, he asked him and Lisa about their early years together. Listen to this. As Rory began to describe their first date, this is the guy, Rory's the husband, his face lit up. Here's a little bit of what he recalled. So he recalls all of this, how he had to woo her and how he knew she wasn't going to be easy to, kind of like take, like convince or whatever, like, what were the words he uses? He had like I figured this would be a 5-year marathon, and I wasn't nervous about it. I just knew it would take a long time to get her. And so she's like, wow, you planned so far ahead for me on our first date. And he says, I knew it would take more than one lunch. And she was so impressed. She was actually holding his hand at this conversation because it kind of sparked something in her to remember their beginning, and also to realize like he was fond of her, even in the past, maybe not right now, but he was fond of her. And that started to rehabilitate. That was that little spark, that little ember that started to build their relationship. So listen to this. If a couple still has a functioning fondness and admiration system, their marriage is salvageable. I'm not suggesting that the road to reviving a marriage as troubled as Rory and Lisa's is easy, but it can be done. In 2 years, everything changed for this couple. With the help of their therapist, they used techniques like those you'll find in the pages ahead to unearth more of their positive feelings and put them to work to save their marriage. So what he's doing here, what he's teaching us, is how to revive and like kind of resuscitate the good parts of our marriage more by bringing out the fondness and admiration. Now, if you're in a challenging part in your marriage, it's very hard to remember what your proud of, what you appreciate, or what you're excited about in qualities that your partner has, because they may not be qualities that you currently respect or appreciate. They may not be focused for you, and you may just be like totally out of touch with it. So this chapter is going to it's going to rehabilitate that, because there are good qualities about him and there are good qualities about you. It's just a matter of finding the words to cultivate and act on those. Okay. The best way, one of the best testers of whether a couple still have a functioning fondness and admiration system is usually how they view their past. So this is such interesting wording. If a marriage is troubled, asking the couple about the current state of affairs is not likely to elicit much mutual praise. Like if you're going through a problematic situation right now, and somebody says like, tell me something positive about your marriage, it's going to be hard to figure that out right away. However, if you ask them about the past, you can often detect an ember of like positive feelings, like, oh, I remember when you first went out with me, how I felt, how you acted, and you remember it fondly. Of course, some marriages do come up empty. In these relationships, the antagonism has metastasized like a virulent cancer, actually spreading backward in time and destroying the couple's memories, the positive memories that they had. So, like when you ask them, how was your wedding? They don't remember the good things about their wedding. They'll remember like, oh, she wasn't considerate of my mother, or he'll say like, or she'll say like, oh, he was flirting with somebody on our wedding day. Like she'll focus on that and he'll harbor on the negative. Together, what happens is they've added so much hostility and hatred and animosity towards one another that it's changed the story and it's rewritten the beginning of their story, which is some marriages can't be resuscitated because of that. And he says here, 94% of the time, couples, this is all scientific based from his studies and research, couples who put a positive spin on their marriage's history and their partner's character are likely to have a happy future as well. When happy memories are distorted, it's a sign that the marriage needs help. Okay, so he goes over another couple and how, how they were viewing each other's marriage and their memories, and it was the opposite of, this challenging situation that he mentioned earlier. So what's the purpose of this chapter? The purpose is really to teach us how to develop more quality admiration and fondness for our partner, because it's there. It's just been covered in all sorts of stuff like stress, distractions, and all the responsibilities, and it's just pile upon pile upon pile. And you know what? You develop contempt after that. You start to be disgusted with them, see them as beneath you. It's just frustrating. At first, I want to read to you this. This is the title of this section, is The Antidote to Contempt. At first, this may all seem obvious to the point of being ridiculous. People who are happily married like each other. If they didn't, they wouldn't be happily married. So, but fondness and admiration can be fragile. Unless you remain aware of how crucial they are in the friendship that is the core of any good marriage. Like when you remember your good friend, you think, wow, I really respect her. I really like her. She wouldn't be your good friend if you didn't, right? It's the same idea with your partner. When you develop that, and you may not feel it right now because of the things you're going and experiencing with him, but I'll tell you something. That can be built upon. That can be developed. That can be grown. And he goes over a question, like a special fondness and admiration questionnaire. I'd love to share it with you. To assess the current state of your fondness and admiration system, answer the following, true or false. I'm going to go over a few of them. I can easily list 3 things I most admire about my partner. So think about that. What the heck with this lighting? It annoys me so much. Think of 3 things you easily admire about your partner, okay? Number 2, when we are apart, I often think fondly of my partner. Number 3, I will often find some way to tell my partner, I love you. I often touch or kiss my partner affectionately. My partner really respects me. I feel loved and cared for in the relationship. This sounds like very nice stuff in the very beginning of the relationship, right? Like when you're first married, I feel like this is easier to say true for. As the relationship carries more burden and responsibility, it becomes challenging to remember all of these. My spouse generally likes my personality. My partner appreciates the things I do in this marriage. When I come into a room, my partner is glad to see me. These are questions that, you want to ask and see, like, where do you score on this with you and your spouse? If you have a 10 or higher between the true answers, it's an area of strength. But if it's below 10 out of these 20 questions, your marriage could stand some improvement in this area. Don't be discouraged, because that just means, you have something to work with. It's just buried. It's just buried under layers of negativity, hurt feelings, and betrayal. He's done things, you've done things where you feel betrayed, you're hurt. There's that negative buildup where you see them in the negative light, And so by reviving the positive feelings that still lie deep below, you can really improve your marriage. If your fondness and admiration are being chipped away, the route to bringing them back it always begins with realizing how valuable they are. Okay, this is the anecdote to contempt. Realizing how valuable they are. Remember that they are crucial to the long-term happiness of a relationship because they prevent contempt, one of the marriage killing four horsemen, from becoming an overwhelming presence in your life. That contempt is so corrosive over time. It breaks the bond between you and your husband. And really important to stay in touch with the positive feelings for each other, because that contempt can't have like a mainstay, can't be fed and have a house to live in when you focus on the positive. However, when you focus on the negative in the spouse, in the situation, you're feeding that contempt, and your contempt grows, and you start to hate your partner, and you feel like really frustrated. Why do I need to be in this marriage? And you create a permanent solution of divorce to possibly a temporary situation or a temporary problem. Okay, let's talk about fanning the flames. There's nothing complicated about reviving or enhancing your fondness and admiration. Even long buried positive feelings can be exhumed simply by thinking and talking about them. It's really whatever is at the forefront of your mind. That's what takes on most energy and most thought, and what eats and lives and breathes in your mind. You can do this by meditating a bit on your partner. What makes you treasure him or her? If you're feeling out of practice, or you're dealing with too much stress or anger to do this, then follow this exercise. He actually gives you an exercise. Let's say you're so annoyed, you're so frustrated, there's a situation you're dealing with him that it's hard for you to like look and think into space and be like, wow, I really admire you, you're amazing. Like, it's not coming to you. So use this exercise. Select 5 appreciations you would like to express toward your partner in your own words, adding an example of when your partner demonstrated each action or displayed the positive qualities you're appreciating. So he actually does this in his workshop, and he says, actually, I really want to go to the workshop. It's a weekend thing, it's virtual. So he says in the workshop, when he did it face to face, the room would light up, because he would ask the room to do this exercise. And what happens is the partners start to lean in on each other. There's more giggling, touching, laughing, because when you start expressing positive, appreciative concern, like statements, I really appreciate, you for A, B, and C. Thank you for, dinner that you made. So picking 5 of these and actually backing it up with statements of like, thank you for making dinner last night when I was really tired, and I knew that you weren't planning to make dinner, but you did it anyway because I wasn't, in the mood or whatever, and you just took over that. So I want to just thank you for that. What happens is when you do these 5 things, like you can do more than 5, but there's so many. You start to prime your brain of seeing the positive in your partner. And that appreciation is like, I feel like personally, after being married 17 years, it is one of the most, if not the most important quality to have in your partner with you, to appreciate what they put into this relationship, because they're being recognized and valued, right? And anywhere you are in life, you always want to be noticed, that your presence mattered and that you are valued, especially to the one who you pick to live your life with. And I'll tell you a little thing. A few years ago, on our anniversary, I wrote, it was like something I bought from Barnes, and it was a really long time, maybe 10 years ago. Um, it was a book that basically was like a book about us. And it was basically filling out questions and, describing the relationship, how we met. And there were all these things. And I would write it on the train home every day to give to him on our anniversary. And he said to me, like, as I was writing this every day, he would make comments to me, and I didn't even catch on. He's like, wow, you're so sweet to me lately, you're so nice to me, like, I'm like just wondering, like, is something up with you? And I was like, no, nothing's up with me. But what I realized afterwards was, when I was writing all of these complimentary things about him in the book, I started to see him in a more positive way. I mean, they were always there, the positives, but because I was priming my brain to write them down, and I was being asked a question about putting them in the book, I started to remember them and so appreciative about it to him when I'd come home from work and be just like, hey, how are you? Oh, like, just grateful to have him as a partner. And that was so powerful during that time when I was writing this. By the way, I gave him the book. He was so overwhelmed by the amount of things in the book. He's like, I can't read this all in one sitting. It was intense. He's like, thank you. It was intense. Okay, so there's a lot of options here that you can thank your partner for. Thanks for making our home so beautiful. Thank you for comforting me. Thank you for being gentle with me. You're a great kisser. Thank you for holding me. Thank you for spending time with the kids. I appreciate what a loyal partner you are. Thank you for sticking up for me when I got criticized. Thank you for how you pay the bills. When you become grateful, you also start to have less contempt. It just can't sit in the same space. The more you bring into your home that gratitude, appreciation, the less space there is for all that negative contempt that's been living in that space and feeling so comfortable. Which is why sometimes you feel so comfortable sharing all your frustrations to your spouse, or frustrations about your spouse, because they're always at the forefront of your mind. So if you like what I said, please get this book, because I think it does help. It does really help. I really believe that. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else. Hold on. Exercise 2 is the history and philosophy of your relationship, which you similar to the book that I wrote about. Describe how you two met and got together. And you can do this like as an exercise between you and your partner. What were your first impressions of each other? What made your spouse stand out? Actually saying this to your spouse, it's so warm. It's so like heartwarming to hear. I never get tired of asking my husband, like, what did you find attractive in me when you first met me, or what did you like about me, or and he's the same. Like, he loves to hear those things, even though the story hasn't changed. Like, he knows them already, he's heard them before. But there's something very comforting about knowing, like, there was some beautiful appreciation in the beginning of the relationship that brought you two together to like pick each other. Okay. And then, getting to know you questions like, how long did it take you before, how long did you get to know each other before you got married? Talk about what made you make the decision to marry him. Was it easy or difficult? Were you in love? Of all the people in the world, what led you to decide that this was your person? When you answer these questions, I would suggest like have uninterrupted time that you can like spend time being together. Maybe it's like out on a dinner date, or maybe in the bedroom or on the couch just chilling with a cup of tea, where you can actually like delve into these questions. Let's see here. Part 2, your philosophy of marriage. Why do you think some marriages work while others don't? This is a great topic to discuss with your partner too. Again, you want to like have it with your partner who's open to it. And I don't want you to get stressed out if your partner is like, what the heck's this? I don't want to do this. But it's really just for you. If it's not for him, use it for yourself. Discuss two couples you know who you agree have a particularly good or bad relationship. What is the difference between these two marriages, and how does yours compare to each of them? This is such a great question to ask in your partner. Again, what do you think? Why do you think some marriages work while others don't? Ask your partner this, like when you're like out with him. Discuss two couples you both know that you agree have a particularly good or a particularly bad relationship, and what is the difference between these two marriages, and how does yours compare to each of them? Where do you fall between the two of them? That's such a great question. Next, talk about your parents' marriages. What would you say were would you say they were very similar or different from your own marriages? And draw a chart or timeline of your marriage, noting its major turning points. I didn't do this, but whatever makes you happy. Okay, now exercise 3, cherishing your partner. This is so good for your relationship when you need that. Every relationship needs that invigorating, like, I don't know, resuscitation in your marriage where you're like, wow, I just love you more. Your relationship's better in the bedroom, your relationship's better in the living room. You just feel more quality with your partner when you cherish them and talk about them and talk to them in a positive way. Again, it is hard. We don't want to be fake when we're frustrated to like say, oh, I think you're amazing, when let's say he did something awful. However, the contempt in your marriage, you want to really keep it at bay, because it's like a corrosive agent, and it just kills your relationship. It really does, especially if it has a very front center space in your relationship where it bubbles out quickly. So you definitely want to practice the questions that he talks about and the exercises that he brings up, because they are there. Your partner does have the good qualities that you obviously picked him for, right? Just that right now you're going through a rough patch. So please don't make a permanent solution to what may be a situational issue right now. Cherishing your partner. From the list below, check 10 qualities that you cherish in your partner. This is so good, especially if you can't figure this out because you're frustrated right now about your partner. Actually looking at this and circling this, and then say to yourself, I'm really lucky to be with my partner. Okay? For each, note one recent occasion where your partner displayed the quality that you're looking at and saying, yeah, he has this. For example, he is ambitious, perhaps, very ambitious, right? Or dedicated, or maybe he's bright, or I don't know, enterprising, or easygoing, disciplined, or diligent, or determined. There's so many. It goes all the way up to like the letter W. Worthy, spontaneous. So I want you to like think about how lucky you are to be with your partner, and keep this list handy and use it when you are alone, to focus on your fond feelings towards your partner and trigger a sense of gratitude that he's yours, that he's your partner. Okay? Part 2, write your partner a love note, expressing how much you cherish him or her for these qualities. Read it aloud to your partner during a romantic date. It's cheesy, perhaps, but listen, cheesy works sometimes. It's very cute and endearing and vulnerable, and your husband likes it when you're vulnerable, because it opens you up and it allows him to feel close to you when you share that piece about yourself, about him, being open. It is vulnerable to share good qualities about your partner to his face, because you're like, okay, I have to, be kinder to you, to say those things. It's easier to be like hard, rough, and like, distant, especially when you're frustrated, because you want to punish them for the behavior that they've exhibited that deserves that. But it's always very nice to be sweet, Okay. Exercise 4. Oh my gosh. This is really long. A 7-week course in fondness and admiration. I have not done this because honestly, I recently got this book. But this is a 7-week discussion it's a 7-week exercise. Every week you do a different exercise. I'm going to go over it with you quickly. This exercise is designed to get you into the habit of cherishing your partner. If you are angry, stressed, or feeling distant from your spouse, you may tend to focus on his or her negative characteristics, right? Of course. This leads to distress-maintaining thoughts, which in turn leave you feeling ever more distant and isolated in your marriage. So this exercise counteracts that tendency by training you to focus on your partner's positive characteristics, even if you aren't having such a great day together. This lighting is so annoying. Okay. I have to stand just like this. I can't move. Okay. So for each day below, there's a positive statement or thought followed by a task. Think about each statement. Say it to yourself many times throughout the day, and then when you're with your spouse, when you're apart from your spouse, you think about it, and then you follow it by a task, which is, hold on, I'll show you. Let's go over the first exercise. Week 1, Monday, thought, I am genuinely fond of my partner. Task, list one characteristic you find endearing or lovable. I really want you to think about this. Like, tomorrow's Monday, I'm genuinely fond about, whatever your partner's name is, and list one characteristic you find endearing or lovable. Okay, Tuesday, I can easily speak of the good times in our marriage. Pick one good time and write a sentence about it. This is a task that you're going to follow with this thought. And it goes on and on. There's really a lot here that if you are interested in rehabilitating your marriage, I want you to understand something. It's going to take work. Just like your relationship was neglected and deteriorated, it could take work to build it back up. So it's the same thing. It's going to take time. It doesn't happen overnight. However, it starts overnight, meaning you do change the direction. Even though you don't change the destination overnight, you change the direction overnight by making an intention of like, hey, I know this is going to take work, but that's what it deserves. Your relationship deserves work, especially if it's been neglected or, I don't know, suffering. You want to give it that attention. By the end of the 7 weeks, you're likely to find your perspective on your partner and your marriage far sunnier. Singing each other's praises can only benefit your marriage. But in order to ensure that the gains continue, you need to put your respect and affection to work. In the next chapter, you'll do just that by using them as the foundation for revamping or reviving your marriage's sense of romance. And we'll talk about this a different time. Principle 3, which is in chapter 6, page 87. Turn towards each other instead of away from each other. I'm just so enjoying the book. I literally listen to the audio everywhere now because I want to read the whole thing. So I hope this chapter was useful for you. Thank you for listening, for whoever was joining. I'm going to look at the comments later. If you think someone can find benefit in this live, send it to them privately or share it in a group that would appreciate something like this. Because I'm all about, saving even one good marriage from this book. I think this guy really knows what he's talking about, and applying your energy into building rather than, just that heaviness of it's falling apart. There's no growth in that heaviness. You really want to put that energy. You have so much energy. And if you put your energy into that depressing space of it's falling apart, there's nothing to do, I'm just tired, I can't anymore, what's going to happen is it's going to fall apart. So you do want to apply as much as you can. And the guy knows what he's saying. He's done a lot of research, okay? So I feel like I'm part of his, posse or something where I'm making some kind of revenue off of his book, which I'm not. I just genuinely think it's a great book. So again, if you found this helpful, I really appreciate your comments and your private messages. So thank you for those. And I really do this because I think there's so much good in sharing information like this that can help even one person. So thank you so much. Have a beautiful night. Enjoy President's Weekend. If you are celebrating at home, whatever. Have a good night. Thank you. Bye.